Somewhere in your blood, there is a code, not a password, not a secret, a biological marker that has been part of you since before you took your first breath. Most people only ever think about their blood type when they're filling out a medical form or sitting in a hospital bed waiting for surgery. But in laboratories and research clinics around the world, scientists have spent decades asking a question that may be more important than most of us ever realized. Does your blood type, that simple letter A, B, or O, actually influence how long you live? And here's what makes this truly remarkable. The answer is not a simple yes or no, because what researchers have found over the last 30 years suggests that blood type may be connected, sometimes quietly, sometimes significantly, to your heart, your brain, your memory, your risk for certain diseases, and your body's ability to fight back against the passage of time. Today, we're going to look at the real science, not the myths, not the internet theories, not the diet books, the actual peer-reviewed research that is changing the way doctors understand the relationship between blood type and longevity, especially in adults over 65. And by the time we reach the end of this conversation, I want you to understand something important. Knowing your blood type is not about fear. It's not about fatalism. It's about awareness. It's about being the most informed, most protected version of yourself. That is always worth your time. So let's begin. To understand this conversation, we need to start with the basics and then move beyond them. Your blood type is determined by something called antigens. These are tiny protein markers that sit on the surface of your red blood cells. If you have A antigens, you're type A. If you have B antigens, you're type B. If you have both, you're type AB. And if you have neither, you're type O. There's also the Rh factor, the positive or negative that follows your letter, which adds another layer of biological detail. Now, for most of the 20th century, blood type was considered medically important for exactly one reason: transfusions and transplants. Match the blood type, and the body accepts it. Mismatch it, and the consequences can be severe. But as research methods became more sophisticated, as scientists gained the ability to study hundreds of thousands of patients over decades, something unexpected began to emerge. Blood type wasn't just sitting quietly on red blood cells. It was quietly connected to inflammation patterns, to clotting tendencies, to immune function, to cardiovascular risk, to cognitive aging, and some researchers began to wonder whether those connections might extend all the way to the question of lifespan itself. Let me be direct with you, because you deserve honesty, not theater. There is no single study that definitively says people with blood type X will live longer than people with blood type Y. That kind of certainty does not exist in science, and anyone who tells you otherwise is not giving you the full picture. What does exist, and what is genuinely worth paying attention to, is a growing body of research suggesting that blood type may influence specific biological processes that are directly connected to healthy aging and longevity. Let's walk through the most important ones. In 2012, researchers at Harvard Medical School published a large-scale analysis involving over 90,000 participants. Their findings, published in the journal Arteriosclerosis, Thrombosis, and Vascular Biology, suggested that people with type O blood had a statistically lower risk of developing coronary heart disease compared to those with types A, B, or AB. People with type AB showed a particularly elevated association, approximately 23% higher risk of heart disease compared to type O individuals. Now, before you start worrying or celebrating, here's what's important to understand. This does not mean that type A, B, or AB individuals are destined for heart disease. What it means is that blood type appears to be one of many biological factors that can influence cardiovascular risk, and knowing your blood type is one more piece of information that empowers you and your doctor to make smarter decisions. Blood type's connection to heart health appears to be related, at least in part, to something called von Willebrand factor. This is a protein involved in blood clotting. People with type O blood tend to have lower levels of this clotting protein, which may reduce the risk of certain arterial blockages over time. But what many seniors don't realize is the heart is only part of the story. Perhaps the most striking area of emerging research involves the connection between blood type and cognitive aging. In 2014, researchers at the University of Vermont published a study in the journal Neurology. Their findings suggested that individuals with type O blood may have a somewhat lower risk of developing memory-related decline as they age. Compared to individuals with other blood types, type O participants showed differences in brain volume and cognitive test performance that the researchers found statistically meaningful. Now, what might explain this? Scientists believe several mechanisms could be involved. One is the relationship between blood type and inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation, sometimes called inflammaging, is one of the most significant contributors to cognitive decline in older adults. And certain blood type antigens appear to influence the body's inflammatory response in ways that are still being studied. Another area involves the way different blood types process certain proteins linked to arterial health in the brain. The brain depends entirely on a rich, steady blood supply. When that supply is disrupted by inflammation, by clotting, by arterial narrowing, the effects on memory, focus, and processing speed can be significant. And this is where things become particularly relevant for adults over 65. Because in this stage of life, protecting cognitive function isn't just about quality of life. It's about independence. It's about being present for the people you love. It's about holding on to the person you've always been. Stroke remains one of the leading causes of death and disability in adults over 65. And research suggests that blood type may play a role here as well. A 2022 meta-analysis published in the journal Neurology, which pooled data from multiple studies involving hundreds of thousands of participants, found that individuals with type A blood had a statistically higher risk of early onset stroke compared to other blood types, while type O appeared to carry a somewhat lower risk. The researchers noted that blood type A may be associated with higher levels of certain clotting factors, making the blood slightly more prone to forming clots in blood vessels that supply the brain. Again, and this is critically important, having type A blood does not mean you will have a stroke. The vast majority of people with type A blood live long, healthy lives. But understanding this connection is valuable because stroke prevention is one area where awareness and lifestyle choices can make a profound difference. Blood pressure management, physical activity, dietary choices. These factors influence stroke risk across all blood types. But if you carry type A blood, or if you have a family history of stroke, this may be a conversation worth having with your physician. Research has also explored whether blood type influences susceptibility to certain types of cancer. The findings here are nuanced and not yet definitive, but they're worth acknowledging. Several studies have suggested that individuals with type A blood may have a somewhat higher risk of stomach cancer, while type O may carry a slightly elevated risk of stomach ulcers and peptic ulcer disease, largely because type O individuals are more susceptible to Helicobacter pylori infection, the bacteria associated with many stomach ulcers and certain gastric complications. Some research has also suggested possible associations between blood type and pancreatic cancer risk, though the scientific community continues to study these connections with appropriate caution. What's important to understand is this: blood type is one biological variable among many. Genetics, lifestyle, diet, environment, and access to regular medical screening all matter enormously. Blood type is not destiny, but it may be a clue, and clues, when understood and acted upon wisely, can protect your health. Scientists who study centenarians, people who live past 100, have long searched for common threads. Genetics, diet, social connection, physical activity, stress management, and yes, researchers have looked at blood type in centenarian populations. Studies examining supercentenarians, individuals who reach 110 or older, have not found a single dominant blood type. What they have found is more interesting. These individuals tend to have robust immune systems, efficient cardiovascular function, lower rates of chronic inflammation, better insulin sensitivity as they age, and some researchers have noted that blood type O appears slightly more frequently in certain longevity populations, though this observation is not universal, and scientists are careful not to overstate the finding. What centenarian research does consistently suggest is this: biological resilience, the body's ability to maintain internal balance across decades, appears to be the real foundation of exceptional longevity. And that resilience is shaped by genetics, yes, but it is also profoundly shaped by daily choices, by how you eat, how you move, how you sleep, how you manage stress, how closely you work with your healthcare team. Blood type may be part of the equation, but it is far from the whole story. Now, here's where I want to pause, because this matters. In recent years, the idea that blood type determines everything about your health has become popular online. There are books, diet plans, and supplement regimens all built around blood type. And I want to be honest with you about what the scientific community actually says. The so-called blood type diet, the idea that each blood type requires a completely different eating strategy for optimal health, has not been validated by rigorous clinical research. A large study published in PLOS One involving nearly 1,500 participants found no evidence that adhering to a blood type-specific diet produced the health outcomes that were claimed. This doesn't mean blood type is irrelevant to health. It means that using blood type as the singular organizing principle of your entire diet and lifestyle is not scientifically supported. What does remain scientifically supported is using blood type as one piece of your personal health picture, alongside family history, existing conditions, laboratory results, and your physician's guidance. The mistake many older adults make is one of two extremes. Either they dismiss blood type entirely as irrelevant, or they treat it as a medical prophecy that defines their fate. Neither is correct. The wise approach, the approach your health deserves, is informed awareness without fatalism. Here's the truth that science returns to, again and again, across study after study. The factors that most powerfully influence how long you live and how well you live are largely within your influence, regardless of whether you are type A, B, AB, or O. Keep blood pressure well managed. Understand your cholesterol numbers. Stay physically active in ways that are appropriate for your body. Even gentle, consistent movement, walking, swimming, light resistance exercise, supports heart health in ways that are medically significant. Cognitive decline is not inevitable. Research consistently shows that mental stimulation, quality sleep, social engagement, and cardiovascular fitness all protect the brain as it ages. Stay curious. Stay connected. Prioritize sleep like it's medicine, because for your brain, it truly is. Because blood type appears to influence inflammatory patterns, and because chronic inflammation is connected to heart disease, cognitive decline, and cancer risk across all blood types, an anti-inflammatory lifestyle matters for everyone. This means a diet rich in vegetables, fruits, whole grains, and healthy fats. It means limiting processed foods and excess sugar. It means not smoking and managing alcohol consumption carefully. Regardless of your blood type, regular medical screenings are one of the most powerful tools available to older adults. Blood pressure monitoring, cholesterol panels, blood glucose checks, cancer screenings appropriate for your age and risk profile. The conditions most likely to shorten your life are often the ones that give you the most warning signs if you're paying attention and checking in regularly with your doctor. If you don't know your blood type, it's worth finding out. Not to follow a blood type diet, not to predict your fate, but because in an emergency and in conversations with your healthcare team about your personal risk profile, it's valuable information. Here is something I want you to hold on to as we reach the end of this conversation. The question of how long we live is one of the most ancient human questions there is. Every generation has searched for the secret, for the key, for the number or the formula that unlocks a longer, healthier life. And what science, real science, continues to tell us is both humbling and profoundly empowering. There is no single key. Longevity is not a code that can be cracked by knowing your blood type. It's not unlocked by a single supplement, a single food, or a single piece of genetic information. What it appears to require, consistently, across studies, across populations, across cultures, is a constellation of choices made day after day, year after year. Choices about how you eat, how you move, how you sleep, how you manage the inevitable stresses of life, how you stay connected to the people who matter, how closely you care for the body you've been given. Your blood type may contribute something to your biological story. It may influence your cardiovascular risk in small ways, your inflammatory tendencies, your immune responses. Research is still unfolding on all of these questions, and that research deserves to be taken seriously. But your blood type does not define your ceiling. It does not decide how your story ends. What I've seen in research, in medicine, in the lives of people who age with remarkable grace, is that the body responds to care. It responds to attention. It responds to respect, and it is never too late to give your body the care it deserves. If you are 65, 70, 75, or beyond, you are not at the end of something. You are potentially in the most informed, most intentional chapter of your life, and that is worth protecting. Before we close, I want to offer some practical guidance about when this information should prompt a conversation with your healthcare provider. If you don't know your blood type, ask at your next appointment. It's simple information, and it rounds out your personal health picture. If you have a family history of heart disease, stroke, or certain cancers, bring that history to your doctor along with what you've learned today. It adds context that may help shape your screening schedule and your preventive care plan. If you have type A or AB blood and have not had a recent cardiovascular risk assessment, including blood pressure monitoring and cholesterol levels, that conversation is worth prioritizing. And if you ever experience warning signs of heart disease or stroke, chest discomfort, sudden severe headache, vision changes, weakness or numbness on one side of the body, difficulty speaking, please seek emergency care immediately. These are not situations to wait out or dismiss. Knowledge is most powerful when it leads to action. Does your blood type reveal your lifespan? Not entirely, not definitively, but it may be one piece of a remarkable biological puzzle, a puzzle that science is still carefully, methodically assembling. What we do know is this: you have more influence over your health and your longevity than any single gene, any single marker, any single letter of your blood type. The choices you make today, the way you eat, the way you move, the care you give to your sleep and your stress, those choices are writing the story of how well you age. And every day that you choose to be informed, to be proactive, to take your health seriously, you are making a decision to honor the life you've built and to protect the years still ahead of you. That is not a small thing. That is everything. Thank you for spending this time with me today. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one. If this video gave you something valuable, a new perspective, a question to bring to your doctor, a clearer picture of how blood type connects to your health, I'd be grateful if you'd take a moment to like this video and subscribe to this channel. Everything we create here at Dr. Edward Hamilton Senior Health is designed specifically for adults over 65 who want to stay informed, stay active, and live as independently and as fully as possible for as long as possible. You deserve health content that respects your intelligence and takes your well-being seriously. That's exactly what we're here to provide. Subscribe, stay informed, and above all, stay well.